seconds before it goes. All right, we are live to the world. Hello, everyone. Say hi, Colin.
Hello, world. Hello, everyone. Colin MacLeod here with Emily McHugh.
Yes, we have I have my special friend visiting all the way from Scotland.
Yes.
And Colin is an amazing violinist, Scottish Celtic fiddler, and we thought we'd come on here, do a little jam session, a little creative jamming, and explore creativity this evening as a special holiday weekend treat for
And
all of you out there.
Get you ready for Christmas. We had Small Business Saturday yesterday, and we've got Cyber Monday tomorrow. So we see creativity coming in there for business as well. Shall we play everyone a tune?
Yes, let's start off with something really creative. And I'm following your lead because he's the maestro. Okay. I'm going to assume I'm more or less in tune, whatever, since we're doing tunes with tunes. And if I'm not, I'll just pretend.
We're doing tunes with tunes.
Okay. I'm coming. Voila!
What an introduction. What an introduction, Emily. And, you know, there was a bit of creativity in there. We had Jingle Bells, the tune, and we all did our own bits, you know, a bit of improv, like we're doing some jazz, for example. And, you know, when you're running your business, sometimes that creativity just needs to come to the fore.
Absolutely. I think, well, that's the foundation of a good business concept is creativity. Like it comes from a creative place. And creativity flows. So from music into business and from business into music, it's not just one silo over here and one over there. It's all interconnected.
I agree. And on my travels throughout the US, I've been across on a Scottish Heritage visa and for about the last 2 months. And it's really been interesting to see some of the names. Like, for example, I was over at the Salado Highland Games. I'm walking down the main street in Salado. I see Heritage Barbers instead of Heritage because Salado was founded by a gentleman from the Robertson clan, and Robertson is a Scottish surname. Mm-hmm. But the idea about, you know, heritage barbers, what, you know, and that to me shows something that somebody wants. They love what they do.
Yeah.
There's a passion in it. They've got their whole self in it. It's not just here, it's here as well. And I see, strangely enough, I see the same thing, for example, on the high street in Edinburgh. Mm-hmm. There's a souvenir shop called Thistle Do Nicely, and it's Thistle, which is like, this will do nicely, this'll do nicely. And, you know, that sort of, I'm actually, I don't know if we can do a poll here, you know, or if people want to put in the comments. And I think potentially that plays on words are something that Scottish people love to do around the world.
So tell me, why is that, Colin? So Colin, you're from, where in Scotland are you from?
Well, I'm from near St Andrews, and I think I'm just going to do play on words that there's a lot of rain in Scotland, and the dry sense of humour makes up for this lot of rain. So you got the yin and the yang and the balance. And on Scotland, we've got the really tall mountains in the west coast and sort of smaller hills on the east coast. And with all that rain, I mean, weather is the second most talked about topic of conversation in the UK.
What's number one?
People talking about themselves.
Okay, so weather is key. Weather around the world.
Whether we're here or whether we're over there.
Yeah. Yeah, people are into the weather. Yeah, so they keep it dry.
They keep it dry.
Keep it funny.
And it's also a way for people to have a conversation and to go from A to B. For example, we were just playing Jingle Bells there, and I mentioned that back in 2017 I was just trialing out the idea of a philanthropic aspect, for the business. I went across the Sumatran jungle and had a really, really wonderful time with the tour guides there. And I ended up taking the violin with me. I thought it would be a great place perhaps for musicians to go. And I played Jungle Bells to the elephants there. Instead of Jingle Bells, because I was in the jungle, it was Jungle Bells. And, that keeps this, that helps to make you smile.
Yeah.
And
did the elephants smile?
The elephants, they were just very serious. They were actually focused on what they were doing.
Oh, they didn't get it then.
It's a bit of a... Never mind. It was a brilliant idea at the time, or at least I thought so. And the idea about just the lightness of doing something, the fun, because I know with the US, people work really, really hard here. They do in the UK as well. And, this time of year, Thanksgiving, we've got Christmas coming up as well. Thanksgiving is a really, really awesome rehearsal for, people in the US. There's not as much family pressure at Christmas. Whereas in the UK, I think we've got to wait until Christmas, for everyone to get together in the family. And it just is such a conversation starter. And I just wonder, well, what would good King Wenceslas say to this? If he was to start a business, what would he say?
What would he say? Maybe we'll find out right now. So, guys, before we play our next song, let me just share with you that Colin is a part of a Scottish heritage program, right? That you're bringing Scottish heritage to the world or around the world.
To the US, and it's something that US audiences might not normally experience, something from Scotland. And this could be telling stories, it could be teaching Scottish fiddle to kids at school, it might involve playing perhaps with bands as well, just adding some Scottish music to the mix. Or it could be playing with the bagpipes. I've actually got an electric violin, which means I can now play with the bagpipes.
Oh, wow. Do you drown them out?
No.
They still have an edge, but you can keep up with them.
Well, funnily enough, in Scotland, there's one of the mountains is called Ben Nevis, and it's over 3,000 feet high, and it's on the west coast near Fort William. And people take their musical instruments to the top of the mountain to play the musical instrument at the top of the mountain. A lot of people have taken bagpipes. One person has taken their cello, and I've even heard of somebody taking a harpsichord.
How delightful. Oh, harpsichord up the mountain.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So can you imagine, well, what do you really... And people coming across from Scotland to the other side of the world, back in the 1700s, perhaps 1800s, this, they might only be able to take one piece of luggage with them. And imagine if this was your piece of luggage. You just have to have some more members of the family who could actually come across and bring some clothes. And you've got all your tunes in your head. You've got all the stories passed from generation to generation orally. And so you just go with the flow with things. I mean, arriving in a new country, you've got something that you can recharge with, like you can play some of the tunes that you're with perhaps a small community. They might have a musical gathering or social gathering like a ceilidh.
Yeah, which is like a Celtic name for a party, right? A kind of
Yes.
Celtic party.
And it could be at a village hall, or it could be in somebody's house. It could be outdoors. It could be on the veranda. And just how all that magic, because it is magic,
Yes,
is finding its way into helping, color bluegrass or old timey or country. It's just, I'm impressed. I really am impressed, and it's so lovely to hear just all these different styles coming together. Like, I went to my first contra dance maybe 3 weekends ago, and the music was just so, you just couldn't keep your feet still. Literally.
So is it the contra dance like a Mexican? Is it what exactly is it? Maybe I'm thinking of something else when you say that.
I think there's an influence from Scottish country dancing there, and other dancing coming together. And the idea about people dancing as couples or dancing as groups, and there's all the different rhythms. Like there might be tango, there might be a waltz. So people from different nationalities coming together and just having fun.
Well, that's kind of what we're doing right now. So we're gonna do. You said you want to do Good King Wenceslas.
Yes, we'll just see how he's checking in for Christmas.
We're gonna check in with him. All right. Let's hear one of their Scottish tunes. Bravissimo! And
Thank
that
you.
was called the.
And that was Mrs. MacLeod of Ratty. So
Any relation to you?
Well, distant.
Okay.
That's for all you mums out there. And Thanksgiving is a time for all the family to get together. And, it's really, really interesting the people who play music. You've got doctors' orchestras around the world. People play it as a way to relax. Einstein played the violin, and he got some really, really marvelous ideas from his time playing the violin. Sort of like a way to reflect. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, who wrote Sherlock Holmes, the the gentleman who Sir Arthur Conan Doyle based Sherlock Holmes on, I think actually did play the violin. And Sherlock Holmes played the violin to sort of like reflect and just come up with answers to cases.
So what do you think it is about violin playing that allows the brain to kind of do that, come up with things or solve problems, or what do you attribute that to?
People feel more relaxed.
Mm.
People feel more relaxed. They're open to more possibilities.
Mm.
The idea of just being able to mull something over and the mind is taking a rest.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that's a legitimate thought.
And then with that, the whole idea of the neural pathways being unlocked or unblocked,
Yep.
with new ideas or with new ways of thinking. So you have to engage certain parts of your brain to play a violin, which may subconsciously unlock the problem that you were having.
Yep.
So that's one of the reasons why it's so important for young people to play music, and older people. So we both so happened to start playing violin at the age of 7, mutually.
Absolutely.
In our
And
respective worlds.
I only found that out this evening.
Yeah, there you go. But even though I meet a lot of people sometimes will say, "Oh, I wish I could play the violin. I've always wanted to play the violin." I'm like, "Well, then why don't you? Why don't you learn? Why don't you start somehow?" "Oh, I'm too old." And that's just an excuse, by the way. If you really want to learn something, age is irrelevant as far as I'm concerned, because your brain is excited when it learns something new, and it's open to that if you will just challenge it and challenge yourself to learn.
And there was a TED talk about playing a musical instrument being one of the unique ways in which the brain gets a whole workout.
Oh.
The whole, the neurons just light up.
Mm.
And when you want to sort of like recharge from something that you've been doing, perhaps spending a long time behind a desk or driving for a long time, it's just, this is one way to sort of like step back and just have fun. And I used to use this technique. Actually, I still do. So as an accountant, because I'm also an accountant.
He's also an accountant, people.
So I used to
He
spend
just said it, but I had to say that too.
a lot of time behind the desk, and there's a lot of focus on spreadsheets, on numbers, and at the end of the day, it might be an 8-hour day, it might be a 10-hour day. I might then go into a pub for like 3 hours and just play, just join in with the sessions.
Now this is in Scotland, so
This is
tell
in
us
Scotland.
tell us how this works. So in the pubs of Scotland or UK or what have you, in the British Isles,
Yep.
It's common to bring your instrument.
Well,
tell us how it works.
There are some pubs you can go to gigguide.co.uk or have a look at on the sessions.org website, for example. And these will actually list pubs within a town or a city or in your area that have music sessions. And a music session is where people might go along and they take their instrument and they sort of join in and play a tune or a few tunes, like we're doing just now. They might have a Christmas carols repertoire, or if it's an Irish pub, perhaps they might be playing Irish or Scottish music. And people might take it in turns to play a set of tunes that other people can join in. And it's a way to unwind, to chill, basically. And especially with the winter coming up, you might find more and more people going into the pubs. And the thing about it is that music is a social glue. And when musicians are playing in pubs, the pub profits actually go up because people stay longer to drink or to chat, maybe to have another meal, maybe to have dessert. And so it's really a
Yeah,
win-win
they want to
situation.
stay.
Yeah.
So here's a question for you. Speaking of pub life there now. So for someone who doesn't drink like myself,
Yep.
I always think I don't want to go to a pub and play my violin because I'm not drinking and I don't want to be around that. So do you have musicians that go who are not drinking and they just
Yes.
go to play, or they, how does that
Yes.
work?
They might have a soft drink from the bar. They might have water. They might have a cup of tea.
Cup of tea.
They might they might have a cup of coffee as well, or there might be some. Sometimes people might meet in a cafe.
Mm.
I mean, I used to work in South Africa. I worked in Cape Town for a while, and I had my first milkshake at an Irish session in a cafe, and it was the bee's knees. It was just the best. And you might think about maybe going down to your local cafe and asking if they might be interested in hearing any, a group of musicians play.
Just come and play and start some sessions in your local area.
Yes.
That's a
People
thought.
people do book clubs.
That's
Or,
right. You can do musicians come play.
maybe thinking about sessions online, like a Zoom session. You get a group of friends together, and then with Zoom, each person can just play a set of tunes, and everyone plays along, and they play along, and nobody will hear what you're playing because everyone's on mute.
So here's a question for you, Colin, that I'd like to ask you specifically about Scottish music or Celtic music. So you started out being classically trained in
Yes.
violin. So what were some of the techniques specific to Celtic violin that's different from regular, say, classical playing?
So when I want to emphasize a note, I put a bit more pressure on this finger. Can you see that?
Like
That's
the index,
the index finger. And that allows me to emphasize notes. And that's a way to make the musical conversation a bit more interesting. And with faster pieces of music, I'll play between maybe half and 3/4 of the bow. So you get a pressure. You get it like this. Like that.
Mm.
Do you want to give that a go, Emily?
I'll try.
See how that goes.
What exactly am I doing, Colin?
So what you're doing is you're putting the pressure on this finger,
Okay.
that index finger there, and then you're maybe starting at 3/4 of the bow, and then you just. So it's like a staccato effect. That's it. That's it. That's it coming through really, really clearly. And with that sort of thing, it really helps to sort of like breathe life into the tune.
So it's really very different techniques. Different techniques.
Yes.
How you use your bow, because we don't normally play my bow like that.
No.
Okay. And so it's kind of like learning almost all
dialect.
over again, a different dialect or another
Yeah.
language, if
Yeah.
you will, dialect, musical dialect, and another form of expression without losing what you already have, like how you normally do it for something else, but you have that extra.
So if you imagine
technique.
two Venn diagrams where you were what you know already, and you're moving into a new genre, and you've got this crossover in the middle, and that crossover is leveraging what you know, and it's got some of common elements. So you're bringing forward something of what you know in order to help you grow.
Yeah, as like a launch pad or a
Yes.
jumping board for that.
And the decorations as well. Just by putting a bit more pressure on the bow, you can totally change the tune by the rhythm. For example, a jig might be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But if I put a bit of pressure in, and that comes in really clearly. And so if I think about the Irish washerwoman, that's option A. Option B. And option B might be slightly more interesting. So So the idea about listening to the styles of people playing around you when you're somewhere, or you might be at a concert, and perhaps incorporating some of what you hear that you love into what you're playing, that helps you to own your playing.
Yeah, to make it your own, to make
Yes.
it your own, and that's where the whole creativity that we're talking about.
And we just really come a complete circle,
Hmm.
because when I look at a business, for a business to have a creative name, that to me is an example of somebody who really loves what they do. So with the playing, it might be there's a distinctive sound that really um, somebody loves to play. They might love to play in a certain way.
Hmm.
So, for example, I tend to do um, play shorter notes, like the say for a jig, like a dotted quaver, semi-quaver, quaver, like dum da dum da dum, instead of 1 2 3 1 2 3. I'll take a bit of the second note, give it to the first note, make the second note shorter, and the third note will just be the same. You
Is
know,
it a little bit of syncopation in a way?
possibly,
Uh,
possibly.
a bit of that.
You know, and just looking at different ways to own the music,
Mm.
own the sound.
Now, I would like to put a highlight on that point because that's something that my other violin maestra, Anna Zivkovic, I do my violin lessons. I call her my violin coach. And we're always talking about what do you need to bring to make it yours. And we were talking about specifically recently, it's 2023. What have I learned this year that I can infuse into my music that will make it uniquely mine because I'm playing it because of what I've experienced?
Mhm.
And I had to sit back and think about that. Like, what does that sound like? What does 2023 sound like? And what, how it sounds kind of esoteric and like, how do you make a year have a sound? But it can. Because many times people talk about, well, this song was the soundtrack to my youth or the soundtrack to some trip or something. So, yes, there is a sound. You just have to try to identify what that was. Like, maybe what was the predominant feeling that you had throughout the year? What was a pervasive goal or energy or something, a driving force throughout the year? And then what does that sound like? It's kind of.
And there's a gentleman by the name of Dr. Benjamin Hardy who's written a book, I think it's Be Your Future Self Now.
Mm.
So it's like the idea of looking ahead
Hmm.
from right now, and let's play around with what we've been talking about. What sound might you like to um, what sound might you like to have from your future self right now? If that makes sense.
Hmm. I think one of the things that as a musician you always want to have a steady sound, a stable sound, and one that is well, clarity. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it sounds very basic, but it's to have a consistently clear sound is not so simple after all. Um, but that's what comes to mind right now.
So when I think about business, I think about people starting in business or businesses starting, and they might focus on regular income, the smaller jobs
Mhm.
that bring in the income, rather than the one-offs, like the major projects, so to speak, that tie up a lot of time. So thinking about the year ahead, it might be playing musically, it might be playing shorter tunes, it might be building up a stock of session. There's like maybe 100 session tunes, or it might be three of each style, three sets that you might hear in a session, in a music session, and just having that in your back pocket to go
Hmm.
somewhere
Mm-hmm.
and just join in,
Hmm.
so that somebody says, "Hey, Colin, can you play?" Or "Hey, Emily, can you play some tunes for us, please?" And so you're ready to do that. You've got your. It's like you've got your signature talk there.
Yeah, but you have your repertoire ready to go.
Yes,
You know that's always very handy, and also in different genre depending on where you're going. So if you're doing a Scottish Celtic thing, or you're doing something Latin, you're doing something Jamaican, whatever, you have something that can speak to all of those people or interests, shall I say.
yes,
One thing I would say that for my 2023, we were talking earlier about using backing tracks. And that's something I've always shied away from, trying to avoid backing tracks because I always thought they were sounded fake and made the music sound tinny. But now they've advanced so much, and depending on the situation or the environment or the context within which you're playing, a backing track, the right backing track, can be very helpful, and can really add another dimension to your playing. But the key is not to rely on them. Like you can totally play solo violin, totally play by yourself. You don't have to have this backing track. But for certain environments, like I'm doing an event next week, a Christmas event, so it adds a certain texture to have some of the backing tracks. So the bottom line is, how do you make that your own? And I find that every time I play with a backing track, it will always be different. It will never ever be the same. It may have certain similarities, but there is no way I'm gonna play that piece the same way twice.
I
So,
was
and be okay with that, by the way.
absolutely, and just be okay with being in the moment. So this year, I got the chance to play for an online movement class.
Movement.
Movement is in music. Play music for an online movement class. So it's Michelle Greenwell from Cape Breton who runs a Cape Breton tea company, and she's also got dancedebut.com, and she teaches Michelle teaches Tai Chi online amongst, and so it's the idea about I'm playing music to the movements, to Michelle's movements,
Ah, yeah,
and
yeah.
this is sort of like the idea of a backing track. You're you've got these
Mm.
movements in the background,
Yes.
but I'm still each time I do something, it'll be different.
That's right. But what while maintaining the integrity of the rhythm
Yes,
and the overall arch of the melodic line, if you
yes.
will, but just being able to be comfortable. Because there was a time when I would never be comfortable doing any such thing. If I didn't know every note I was gonna play, if it wasn't clearly rehearsed and practiced, I wouldn't go up there and improvise anywhere. But now that's what I do 90, 100, almost 100% of the time is improvise.
And the idea about moving, playing by ear rather than playing by sheet music.
Mm-hmm.
And sheet music sort of like dried powder. It's like
Mm.
something that's been dehydrated, and then when you add water to it, when you add your something of yourself into the mix, that's what brings the music alive.
Absolutely. And I would like to say to anyone watching, especially if you're a musician or even if you're not, how does this topic connect with you? And again, it's not your average discussion, really. And I think there's time, I believe it's important to make that time, that space for conversations like this, allowing creativity to flow. We don't really know what we're going to say next. It'll come out as it needs to. But just your perspective on this, or whenever you get to watch it, whether it's live or on the replay, what are your thoughts on how do you express yourself creatively, whether it be through music or art or dance or writing or physics, however it may be. So, Colin, what else would you like to share with the people in terms of all these travels? And you're going to be heading to Australia. You're
So
hopscotching the world.
well, it's something I love to do, and I think especially after the pandemic, just how special it is to catch up with people in person and have that musical conversation, have that conversation, or the ideas that might flow
Yeah,
through having conversation or playing
very,
a few tunes.
very much.
The last time Emily and myself caught up was maybe 2019, I think it was.
Hmm?
And the tune that we were playing then was this one.
Oh, I think you enjoyed that. Bravissimo. Bravissimo.
Thank you.
Bravissimo. I was actually gonna just find when we were where we met, but I'll show it to you if I don't find it quickly while
It
we're
was
live.
something like a Panera or one of these sandwich shops.
Yes, we went. It was what do you call that place? Tropical smoothie.
Tropical smoothie. So
But anyway,
you can have musical conversations anywhere or conversations otherwise.
yes.
And you never know unless you bowl. Because if I go like this, there's no sound. There's a bit of sound there.
Ah, Katie, is Katie on? Hi, Katie. Katie is in UK. She says, does Colin live in Florida? No, he lives in
Near St Andrews. So Katie
Scotland.
actually lives in Scotland. And I'm over catching up with Emily. I just played a couple of gigs in Florida. So just catching up. And
He said, she's asking, have you ever been to Fiddle Fest in Edinburgh?
not yet. I've missed it every year because I've either been abroad, well, most of the time I've actually been abroad, or it's been COVID. So I think it's actually in November each year. But it's a really, really awesome event to attend.
So Katie's also a fiddler. She's an amazing musician. She's a singer. She's a pianist. She's a fiddler as well. She is no easy lady. And she said we need to have an online fiddle fest. Yay to that!
I think that's a great idea, by the way.
That's so cool. That's so cool. No, she's wonderful. She definitely knows how to do this very, very well. No, that's really cool. Okay, so that's what we've got on Facebook. And I don't know what's going on anywhere else because I'm not going anywhere else right now. But so shall we just, let's see. We can play a couple more things before we say goodnight to everybody and
yeah.
And what else do you want the people to know or hear?
Well, you've got your challenge coming up.
Oh yes, thank you. So tomorrow morning, people, don't forget Momentum Monday is coming on. This is a special edition, little creative jamming tonight. But Momentum Monday tomorrow morning around 11:45 a.m. or so Eastern Standard Time, I'm going to share with you some tips on how to prepare for the challenge. I almost forgot. Thank you for reminding me. Our challenge, and it's the Distraction Elimination Challenge. How to focus and simplify your focus, sharpen your focus, and simplify your priorities. And I find that a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners, we struggle with that a lot because there's so many things that we have to do and juggle, and deciding what to do first, second, and third can sometimes be a bit of a dilemma. So I will be sharing some insights on that on Tuesday and Wednesday as a challenge. You can still sign up. I'll drop a link for you if you're interested. It's a free challenge. And sign up and come. Even if you're not a business owner, you're welcome to sign up. Anyone who could benefit from sharpening their focus. So that's going to be happening on Tuesday and Wednesday of this week, November 28th and 29th. And tomorrow for Momentum Monday, I will just share some highlights on how to maximize the experience, which I think will also be very beneficial for everyone as well. So that's what's coming up.
So that's something special. And, you know, we get distracted by a lot of things. Having a conversation and then that might lead us here. But when we can really focus, it's amazing what you can get done, even 10 minutes a day.
Yeah.
And I'm launching my online Celtic Fiddle courses again. It might be late January, early February.
And what's your website?
CelticFiddleGuru.com.
CelticFiddleGuru.com. Very good. And we'll drop the link for that as well. And starting in January, you're starting your courses?
Late January, early February.
Okay, wonderful. And in your courses, what exactly do you teach?
So there are 6-week courses, and there's absolute beginners, teaching somebody to play the fiddle from scratch. Beginners, where we're getting all these tunes focus on playing by, all these courses focus on playing by ear. So getting people to play their first tunes by ear. And then intermediate will actually be where we bring in the decorations, where we bring in the different ways to decorate a tune, so that you can actually put something of yourself into the music. And so here's um, a really here's your Christmas tune for you.
Amen, amen. No, never in the world, Colin, let me tell you how far I have come in this world. Would I go on live anything, playing a song, mess it up, and still be okay? Okay?
That's lovely to hear.
Play any kind of crazy note, whatever comes out, and still know that you're not gonna drop keel over by that. And just confidently playing what comes out, whether you want it to or not. Right?
Yes, that is totally. I'm right with you there. I'm right with you there.
Because if you don't actually are not willing to experiment with it, possibly coming out like it might come out quite the note you want, but it can come out better than you expect sometimes. And if you're not willing to challenge and experiment, you will never know.
Absolutely. And life is a tapestry, and that experimenting can, trying something different, maybe trying a new hobby, try a different piece of music, or try and play with your bowl like this. Shall we try and play with our bowls like this?
Okay. Upside down bowl. Here we go.
Upside down. So we're going to, folks, this is a first for the creative jamming session with Colin and Emily. We're going to try and play Jingle Bells with our bowls
upside down?
Yeah.
Okay. Bon.
So,
On y va.
Shall we see what happens?
Let's see. So let's prove it to you that the bowls are indeed upside down. So wait, where are we going to hold it? From the bottom? From the tip? From the Lord, people, this is not easy because just so that you know, it's heavier. The bow is heavier at the bottom and it gets lighter at the top. So to hold it here, it's really very awkward because all the weight is here.
Absolutely.
Oh boy.
Okay, shall we see what happens?
Hey, it unlocked new neural pathways, Colin. That's what it did.
My goodness.
Have mercy, Lord. It unlocked them because we started to do some things that we would not have done otherwise.
Shall we try it again, back to the normal way, and just see what happens?
Really?
Yeah.
And relock the neural pathway? No. Now, I have you know that I'm inclined to play the Caribbean version of this.
Okay, I'd love to hear the
Which
Caribbean
just
version.
adds a little bit, just this part here, I mean, just set the tone for it, and then we go. So when we go, let's see the crunchiest note we can do.
Right, let's see what we can do.
Oh, you do a lot more crunch. Crunch it out.
When I was a teenager, I always
Oh,
wanted
wait
to,
a minute. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. I have something special for you. Go ahead.
I always wanted to make the violin sound like an electric guitar, and I think I'm only just starting to be able to do that now.
Watch here. You don't know. Okay. And then, of course, that is what the audience is feeling on my burden up in here, playing all that fire from the music. Oh, my Lord. You want to hear all my sound effects?
Okay.
All right.
let's
That's
go for
one, glockenspiel,
it. Yep.
bicorn, party noise, triangle, timpani roll, and then this one I'm gonna play for a second because it's like that's one of my bongo songs. Okay. Because I'm gonna start bongra again next year, guys. You've been asking me about my bongra dancing, and you want to know, Emily, what happened to bongra? And I told you that I've been so busy, I have not been able to dedicate time to learning my routines, but I'll be making time in the new year to bring bongra back up in here so you can get bongra. I'll have bongra back, you have bongra back, and we'll keep bongraing. And that's creativity.
That is definitely creativity, by the way.
It is. So let's say goodbye to everybody. What's our closing song, or what is your favorite? Maybe we want to play a tune and then I can join you with something Christmassy and we end with that. But let's hear something fun from you because you're the maestro of funky fiddle music. What's your funkiest fiddle song? Guys, if you want to play like that, go to CelticFiddleGuru.com and you will know how to play like that right up in here. You can do it too.
If you know anyone in the Columbia area, I'm actually
Columbia, South Carolina.
Carolina. I'm doing some concerts, events with Danny Skinner and Haley, and there's also the Midlands Burn Supper at the British Bulldog on the Friday night.
Oh, wow.
So we've got stuff happening Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Go to my Facebook page, facebook.com/Celtic Fiddle Guru, and you'll find out more about these events. And Emily, what's happening for you this week? You've talked about your challenge.
Mm-hmm.
That's
about it. Challenge is plenty. I don't have much more going on. That's enough.
It's a lot. It's a lot, by the way.
And then the Supercharge Club that will be next week. Next week, the 1st of December, the first Thursday in December, December 7th, Supercharge Club, where we supercharge our businesses and everything like that. So we'll be celebrating our first anniversary of the Supercharge Club. Oh my God! Praises to the Lord. So yeah, that's what's coming up. But yeah, sign up for the challenge. I wanted to call it the distinction elimination. No, it's the distraction elimination, and I'll have the link for you for that. So yeah, that's this Tuesday and Wednesday, and tomorrow morning I'll see you again for Momentum Monday, where we'll have another supercharged experience. But we're wishing you a wonderful continued Thanksgiving. Every day is Thanksgiving. Happy holidays coming up. Merry Christmas and all of that. And so that's what I wish you. What do you wish them?
Just a really, really awesome year ahead. And, try something new. If you've got doing something like try a new hobby, or you never know unless you bowl.
Unless you bowl? Yep. You never know unless you bowl. Okay, so what's our goodbye song? Is it We Wish You a Merry Christmas or what? Excellent, excellent, excellent. And that was. So thank you for joining Colin and Emily and Colin for creative jamming. And thank you, Colin, for your wisdom, your energy, your creativity, and your insights on how we can supercharge ourselves.
Supercharge. And look out for Supercharge Monday tomorrow with Emily as well. Aikiva.
Haikiva?
Aikiva.
Is that
Gaelic for have a good evening. Aikiva.
At first I thought it was like Yiddish or something.
Yiddish.
It sounded very Yiddishic. But you're basically saying Gaelic.
Yes.
Haikiva.
Aikiva.
Haikiva. Haikiva to you too.
All the best.
And how do you say Merry Christmas in Gaelic?
Oh.
Never mind. Haikiva will have to do. Right?
Pleana Va'ur is Happy New Year in Gaelic. So we're going a stage forward. Pleana Va'ur.
Oh, wait a minute. Now this might be a little premature, but while I have you, I don't have you very often. Old Lang Syne.
Absolutely.
Hey, wonderful, wonderful. Thanks so much, Colin. you guys. See you next time. Bye bye. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for having you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very much.